Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein, and happy as always to be bringing another episode to all of you. Our guest today is a legend in the world of women's basketball, my good friend, Penny Toler. Penny had a stellar high school career and college career. However, at the time, there wasn't a professional women's basketball league for her to aspire to in the U.S., so Penny took her talents to Europe, where she played professionally for 10 years in Italy, Greece, and Israel. When the WNBA was formed in 1997, Penny was assigned to the LA Sparks, where she played alongside the great Lisa Leslie for 3 seasons. In fact, Penny scored the first points in WNBA history, and she was the first Sparks player and female athlete to have her number retired and on the wall permanently at Staples Center. Penny retired in 1999 to become general manager of the Sparks and was an integral part of their 3 WNBA championships in 2001, 2002, and 2016. She was also an interim head coach for the Sparks in 2014, making Penny the only female in professional sports to have consecutively been a player, executive, and head coach for the same team she played for. That's a pretty amazing accomplishment. Penny continues to be involved with USA Basketball's Women's Competition Committee, and she was deeply involved with crafting the current landmark WNBA collective bargaining agreement as part of the league's Labor Relations Committee. Penny is now doing some great work off the court. We discussed a new anti-bullying app she is involved in launching soon called the Bullying Buddy. We covered lots of great stuff in our conversation. I hope you enjoy this episode with my good friend, the legend, Penny Toler. And as always, I'll see you on the backside. Welcome to the Legends of Sport podcast, my friend, Penny Toler. It's so great to reconnect with you. I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It was great to see you when I saw that great face on Facebook. And we were just talking about you. I was just with Johnny Buss and Brandy Bratcher, the first owners of the Sparks. And we were reminiscing, and you were like one of the first people named who came up. And then I get home later that night and I'm on Facebook and your picture pops up. I'm like, I'm about to reach out to Andy right now. So I hit that button. So it's awesome to reconnect.
Yeah.
It's great to see your face as well.
Oh, we have so much history together. I want to get into it, but I want to first get into your history. Okay. So my researcher, Veronica, who's terrific, my producer, I know you spoke with her, she got some great stuff, but I need to get into how this all started for you, Penny, because I know you're from the DC area. You had 3 brothers growing up. Right. So honestly, because they're not listening right now, but were you the best? Were you the best hooper in the family, or what?
I wish I could say I was.
Yeah.
But actually, I had an older brother who was just incredible. He was just incredible, and having 3 brothers, I had the luxury to have hot, medium, and cold, and learning from them. I took something from each of them, and what started out as just them needing another person to play 2-on-2 gave me a career that I can only dream of, So I wish I could say I was the best. I learned to beat my middle brother though. I could beat him when I got bigger.
So you were a standout in high school, right? And
yes.
Were you recruited per se for college, or how did the whole college thing, and you ended up on the West Coast, which is a whole other story I wanted to find out. Like, why did you go to San Diego State? You could have stayed on the East Coast probably. But how did that whole process happen with college?
Well, I was actually one of the best players in the country, not bragging, but it's an honor now. And, and I put in the work.
Yeah.
How I ended up on the West Coast, like everybody does, I watch TV and I see California all the time. And ever since I was maybe like 12, I go, I'm going to live there, which was California, not even knowing how big California was. So when I got older and I was recruited by every school in the country, I was like, I am going west. I've always liked warm weather. I mean, look at it now. My family always asks me, do you think you'll move back home? And I'll be like, yeah, when I die. You know what I'm saying? Because I can literally walk outside right now with a short sleeve shirt on. So I always love beautiful weather. Watching on television, it seemed amazing. And not to live in here now, knowing that it was amazing. So that's how I wound up in California.
That's interesting. I moved out here in 78 to go to college, a Brooklyn guy, and I went to school in Massachusetts.
Oh, there you go.
And, we had snow and all that, just like you growing up. And it was daunting to me. I applied to UCLA and a couple other schools in the West, and I just couldn't think of going that far west, from my family and everything. But finally I made the decision in 78 to move out here and finish college out here. And it was the best decision I ever made, because I moved out here, it was during the blizzard of 78. I landed in LA, it was 84 degrees. It's like, I'm like, I'm not going
Wow.
back. There's no chance I'm going back there.
And now you see what I tell my family, and going to San Diego first, even though LA is amazing too. But
Yeah.
anybody that's been to San Diego know, I think their tagline is America's most beautiful city. The
Beautiful.
place was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I've been here ever since. It's no chance I'm going home. Like
Yeah.
I say, until I die, so they can visit my grave.
Yeah. Well, I know you probably still have family back east. I have family back east. My daughter is actually living in Philly. She went to college in Philly. She actually became an East Coast girl, which I can't even believe. That just blows my mind. But yeah, we've stayed for the weather for sure.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's where I stayed for. And you're right. My whole family still
Mhm.
lives back east. I was just there in October,
Yeah.
which was nice because it wasn't cold yet, really, really cold. So we
Mhm.
could still
Mhm.
go outside and enjoy it during the daytime. But I find that weird too, because a lot of people from LA go back east, and
Yeah.
I can tell you that they don't come back.
Yeah.
They
I
love
don't
it.
know. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
love it, and they don't come back.
Yeah, I think she likes the seasons and all that. Plus, she met a guy, so she's very happy living back there.
Yeah,
So
that's why I say it's a wrap. Then you won't see her.
yeah, exactly.
It's a wrap. You will
Yeah.
not see her.
So PT, what? Tell me about who you emulated. Like, who did you watch growing up? I've had Nancy Lieberman on. Cheryl Miller's a good friend of mine. These were the women and Myers who set the stage for yourself and others. Like Lisa and the, kind of the
Oh yeah.
forebearers of the WNBA. But were there male players, female players? Like Sue Bird talks about both. That she tried to pattern her game. When she was growing up. I mean, who did you look up to?
That's a great question, because growing up, you didn't have the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have women on, television. Obviously, I know the great Ann Myers and Cheryl Miller, and played with Lisa Leslie, the great. I love my brothers, but my favorite player growing up, and a lot of people on the West Coast gonna be angry when I say this, was Isaiah Thomas, because he
Oh, I
had
love it.
mad handles. He
You know
had
what?
mad handles.
Yeah.
And on the East Coast, if you had mad handles, you're gonna get picked to play.
Yeah.
The creativity that Isaiah had, and you love that swag. So
Mm-hmm.
I had Isaiah Thomas on my wall, and that's who game I used to like try to emulate.
I
I
love
mean,
it.
he was incredible.
Yeah. Didn't he wear number 11 also? Or
And that's why I wear number
yeah.
11 right there. And you know what? That's right. That's why I wear number 11, Isaiah Thomas.
That's awesome. Sue Bird talked about that. She loved Kenny Skywalker. I mean, yeah. I said, well, that doesn't really look like your game, but she loved him. She loved Mike Bibby growing up. I mean,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
you can
Tough,
see that.
hard-nosed kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a
Yeah.
good player too.
Mm-hmm.
But Isaiah, Zeke, as they call him, I mean, that and the Detroit Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
I used to. My brother was a diehard Laker fan, and Magic Johnson. I mean, he was a diehard. So we used to have our battles, because I was a Detroit Piston fan.
Mm-hmm.
I actually told Bill Lambier, who coached in the W one time, I said, Bill, you know what? You should be one of my favorite players until I met you.
Yeah, Bill is a tough guy to like. I mean,
I know. And I said, after I met you, I mean, it went from here to here, And over time we became friends and we tease each other. But yeah, I used to love that Pistons team, even when they weren't that good. Remember Kelly Tapuka?
Yeah,
Reggie
sure.
Theus
Oh,
playing on those teams, and they weren't that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when I first met Bill, I was like, wow, this guy, I see why people hate him.
Oh, yeah.
So
Not a lot of talent,
that was funny.
Yeah, not a lot of talent, but he knew how to rile people up, man. And he was perfect for that team, that Bad Boys team. But
and still is. And
yeah.
you saw his WNBA teams. Their teams emulate their style of play when he was in Detroit, winning the 3 titles.
Yeah.
Tough, hard-nosed, gritty, and don't back down and talk a lot of smack.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill's son had a great career in the W.
Yeah, that's true. So there's no WNBA for you to aspire to, right? You want to play professionally when you get out of college. The only choice you had, and so many others had, was to go overseas, right? You spent 10 years. I didn't realize it was that
10
long.
years. It was a long time. And my last two,
Yeah.
when the league first started, I was in the W, like
Mhm.
these players are doing now. And then once the W was over, I headed back to Israel. I spent my last 2 years in Israel.
Crazy. Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So Italy, Greece, and Israel were the three countries you played in?
They were the three countries that were home, that were the home port, because I
Yeah.
always played on teams that played in the Cup Around Caddy. For
Mhm.
anyone out there that doesn't know what the Cup Around Caddy is, it's the reason I hate to travel today is, let's say Italy was home base for the first 5 years that I played in Europe. You would play
Mhm.
on Sunday in Italy,
Yeah.
and Tuesday you could be in Spain,
Mm.
Thursday turn around and be in Hungary, and then you have to make it back home to Italy to play that game on Sunday.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
it was a lot of traveling, and when you're younger, you love it. I
Mhm.
look back on it now. I got an opportunity. At one point, I had been around Europe so many times
Mhm.
that when I would come home for vacations, my friends would be like, "Penny, we know you've been there, but let's go to Jamaica." And I hadn't
Yeah.
even been to Jamaica, and I had been to the Greek islands, Mykonos, Santorini, these incredible places.
Yeah, yeah.
But my friends find it shocking now when I haven't been some other places. So
Yeah.
it was a great experience, but yeah, it was tough. It
Yeah,
was
I
tough.
bet. I bet it was tough. And I mean, you grew up, I guess you had to grow up, but you had to learn the languages, you had to adapt to the society. The travel was not like the travel like it is now. And wow, I can't even imagine what that must have been like. And I'm sure you were homesick because you're away for so
Oh my
long,
God.
right?
Me, Teresa Weatherspoon, who just got the job at the Pelicans,
Oh,
with the
that's
men's
right.
basketball
That's
team.
right. Yes.
She just got hired there.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have phone bills that were like 10, 15,000, five. And
Uh,
luckily we were good enough to get the team to play them. But I'm
yeah.
gonna tell you something that was funny
Mm-hmm.
that nobody you would never think about is when I first went to Europe, you forget that you have ears.
Uh-huh.
And people, and this is really true. You get there because when I first went to Italy, they were one of the countries that they didn't speak that much English.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I went to Greece, they spoke great English,
Yeah.
but in Italy, they didn't. So imagine getting there and you're in a restaurant eating. I used to tell people, and no offense to my Italian people out there, I love you guys, but I used to be like, oh my God, can these people shut up?
Yeah.
Because when you don't understand the language,
Yeah.
I used to say it's like the Flintstones, and I'm
Yeah.
aging myself, where it's like yabba dabba doo,
Right.
because you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're in America, you don't realize you have ears because you can understand, understand everything. But yeah, I used to get tired. I used to just be like, I can't take no more. I can't take no more.
Mm.
But that's when I learned, when I did start to speak Italian, I learned that, you get better at it when I could be talking to you and understand them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that is just a difference because you hear it all the time. And
Mhm.
unlike these players today, when they say they have it tough, I'll be like, what do you want me to get? The violin or the harp? Which one do you
Right.
want me to get?
Exactly.
Because when I was
Yeah.
over there was no internet, there was
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
Slingbox, there was
Yeah.
no FaceTime. I mean, look at all the media you have. And then now they have Americans, like some teams have like 5, 6 Americans.
Mm.
When I was there, it was just us two
Yeah.
in a little town, isolated.
Wow. Yeah.
And like you say, being homesick, I think I
Mhm.
spent my first month crying on everybody's answer machine. Remember back then when you had the recorder with the tape?
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't home, I started talking. They're not home. Hey, it's me, Penny. What are you
Oh.
doing? And that's why I tell them now when the players used to call back and be like, I'm homesick. Okay, what do you want me to get? The violin or the harp? Which one do you want me to get?
Well,
So it's quite funny to hear their stories.
but you had such a love for the game, that you would
Yeah.
endure all that, right? And what was I've never asked anybody who played in Europe this question, but what was the quality of play like over there in the women's game?
It was high. This
Yeah.
is what was so funny to Americans. We were the best there. And obviously, they hired us for our play, but they also hired us for their players to emulate how
Mhm.
we played, how we practiced, how hard we went.
Mhm.
But the quality of play was high there. And that's why it was baffling to myself. You know, um, Cynthia Cooper, Janice Lawrence, some of the greats that people, when they see Lisa, they think she was the first who was a big man to shoot. Now, if you saw Janice Lawrence game,
Mhm.
she was incredible. Lisa England, these players that they never got an opportunity to see. It was so baffling because the play was great, but we were baffled because how could you have this league over here that, they got great players and not as many as America, and then no women's league at home
Mhm.
for us to stay home and continue our careers. The
Mhm.
only way to continue, the sport you love was you went overseas, and you would be like, how can these cats over here have this spectacular league, and America, the greatest country in the world, can't provide a women's league for women players?
Yeah,
So it was
well,
baffling.
yeah, I bet. I mean, that's a natural segue into my next question because, you hear about, I guess around 1996 or so, you hear that there's going to be a women's league, a WNBA is being formed. The NBA is totally behind it. Val Ackerman is named the first president. Good friend of mine was also on the podcast. She talked about that whole
Awesome
genesis.
president. She was an
Yeah,
awesome president.
just a wonderful person. Um, where were you when you heard about it, and what was your reaction? Because you were an older player by that point. You had 10 years in the league, right? So
8,
8 years
and
at that point.
that
Mhm.
that's in my last two there. Yeah, it was crazy because, believe it or not, I hadn't really heard that much about it. Remember, I told you I was in Israel, so
Yeah.
not the television that they see now. There's no internet. And
Mm-hmm.
what happened was the Israeli counselor called my team and said there was a lady looking for me.
Hmm.
And when they said the lady name, Renee Brown, who used to be the director of player personnel, who was picking all the players in the W, I
Hmm.
knew Renee. I had met Renee when I was at Long Beach State. She was assistant coach at the time at Santa Barbara, went on to be assistant coach at Stanford. And now here she was picking all the players for this fantastic league. So
Yeah.
when I called her, she goes, Penny, oh my God, I'm glad I got in touch with you. And she said, we want to make you a marquee player in this new league. And I go, what league? She said, the WNBA. I said, like the NBA? She said, yeah. So I was like, yeah, count me in, and especially being marquee. You didn't
Yeah.
have to try out. I was informed that Lisa Leslie and I were going to be on the same team. And, they were doing it by demographics, players who have played in the area, because obviously you want to attract the fans
Yeah.
that was from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in Israel, get the random call from Renee,
Hmm.
and that's how it happened. And the funny thing about that, and obviously this year I've been working on my memoirs here and there where I can still remember stuff. you know,
Yeah.
I can still remember stuff. I said, let me get to this.
Yeah.
One of the first thing I said, Andy, and I always used to tell kids about the power of words and stuff.
Yeah.
I said, wow, because I was an older player coming into the league. So
Mm.
I knew,
Yeah.
my career wouldn't be as long as I would hope. And
Hmm.
the first thing I said was, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if I could be the general manager of the team that I played on? And
Wow.
how crazy is that?
Yeah.
A couple of years went by, and that's exactly what happened.
So you actually dreamt that, or you thought about that? That was a goal of yours? Wow. That's
That
awesome.
was a goal of mine. I
That's
said,
interesting.
wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I was an older player.
Yeah.
And even though, I always say there's two things in sports that going to happen to every athlete, and it's not going to change. You know what those two things are, Andy?
Yeah.
Maybe I can teach you something
Getting
today.
old and breaking down.
You got the first one. Hey, Andy,
Yeah.
you got the first one right. And the
Yeah.
second one, not too far off. But
Uh-huh.
I always say, Father Time is undefeated,
Uh-huh.
and evolution is going to catch you. Because
Yeah.
what comes after you is going to be better, because it always is. Age
Mhm.
and evolution, no athlete's going to outrun those two things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just said, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to be the general manager? And then I was always a person that believed that the mind works a lot longer than the body.
Hmm.
And, to be an athlete, like I said, Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
You may want to play forever, but it's not going to happen.
Mhm.
But if you could be, if I was a general manager and could be good at, I could be the general manager for forever,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I almost was, for 20
Mhm.
years. It was two
Wow.
decades.
That's
So,
amazing. Were you,
yeah.
did you study like sports management or anything? I mean, how did that get, like, how did that fire get ignited in you that you wanted to be in management?
Well, my major was psychology, which I always say, I got a lesson working with all the girls and all the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Nope, didn't study sports management. And this is another story I tell people. People always they go, I want this job. I want this job to pay 200,000 or 2 million, and the employees in my office never believe the story, but it's a true story. And Johnny Buss will tell you this. This is how I got my job. I didn't want to play for the Sparks anymore. We were struggling,
Mhm.
firing the coach, players running the team. Um, and they had just fired the GM. And I went to Johnny and I said, Johnny, I want to be the GM. He's like, you don't have any experience, right? And this is what a lot of people don't get. Athletes, you actually do. I say, Johnny, I have a lot of experience because this is what I did my whole life, play basketball. And I say to be a good GM, yeah, the first thing you got to know is the court.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, I said, you can hire a GM, but how long is it going to take the GM to get to know the players? This is a true story. I said, Johnny, if you hire me, I guarantee you I can win in 3 years or less. Right?
Yeah.
And he looked at me and I said, because think about it. I know the court. I'm already playing with the players. I think I know the changes I'm supposed to make. And I'm guarantee you I can win in 3 years or less. That new GM come in, it's going to take them 3 years just to get to know us. And then that 3 year, the team is still turning over. So he stepped out on the limb. I was so excited to be the GM. I didn't even realize that I needed a contract. I worked the whole year without a contract because I just was excited to have the opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
And he lowballed me on the pay. Okay. I think I already knew that I was and this is true. I made my first year as a GM $45,000, which I would have made more as a player because I was already marquee. And I think every year it went up 5,000. And my Nike contract at the time, which was amazing for a girl contract, was almost 100,000 when we first came out. Wow. But I said, you know what? And this is a story I tell people that come into their job. I say, I'm going to take it because the thing I always prided myself on is just give me the opportunity and I'll turn it into what it's supposed to be. And lo and behold, like I say, not bragging, but I'm the fastest player, male or female, to go from the court to a boardroom and win a professional title. We won my second year.
In your second
and repeated my third.
Yeah.
And then we lost our three-peat when the Lakers won their three-peat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you came so close in that 2003 final or that season, right?
Yeah, one game, the final game. I got a trivia question for you too, Andy, and I know you're going to get this right because this is an easy one.
Yeah.
Who are they? And when the league first started, you had to have a men's league. You had to have a men's team to have a WNBA team. What teams in the WNBA and NBA were the only teams that ever won a championship at the same time?
Okay. Well, let's see. Lakers and Sparks. You just told me that one. At the same time, the same year? Is that what you're talking about?
Same time, same year. Yep.
Comets and Rockets? No.
No, the Rockets ain't winning nothing if the Lakers winning. Come on, Andy, they're the same.
All right, well, hold on. This is a tough one because you're probably talking about like maybe a defunct team that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. I don't know the other two. What are the other two?
And this is for all your listeners out there. The Ladies and the Sparks were the only team to do it.
That's
the
a
only
question,
team.
Penny.
I like to watch you struggle there. We're the only team, the men and the women title at the same time, not once, but twice, those back-to-backs.
Yeah,
and the Lakers, we're the only dynamic duo to hold those titles.
Yeah.
And that's a trivia question that a lot of people wouldn't know the answer to.
That's so interesting because at the time, the Buss family owned both teams, obviously.
Both teams.
So the same people working for the Lakers had to work for the Sparks, right? And they, the seasons kind of overlapped, and it was like Raymond Ritter, our good friend, he was the PR guy for the assistant for the Lakers, but he was the head PR guy for the Sparks. I mean, the poor guy was working, 365 days a year, but but that's
it was great times. But imagine, it's nothing like winning, which and been on the court on I don't know how many championships. It was so funny because at the time Jerry West had just left and Mitch was there winning the championship, Mitch Kupchak. And it's funny because we used to walk around. Remember how the practice facility used to be, next to the restaurant that was over in the Toyota Center.
Yeah.
And we used to walk around calling each other champ. We used to be like, hey, champ, hey, champ, hey, champ.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
so it was cool.
It's so great to see how the men was supporting the women, even back then. I mean, much more now, but even back then, I remember some of the guys going to your games and, there's a lot of support. And
Dr. Buzz, I'm going to tell you, Johnny Buss ran the Sparks, of course. But Dr. Buzz, he always made us women players and management feel like we were larger than life.
Yeah.
Just like when he was there, remember when the Lakers used to go to Hawaii every year?
Yeah, I went with him.
He would call up, or Johnny would say, hey, Penny, my dad, because his dad really loved the women's team too. My dad said, for any players that are not overseas, bring them all overseas because he wanted them to experience the Laker practice. I mean, how many owners you know that? We
Wow.
would literally fly them from where they were
Yeah.
to Hawaii, all expense paid for a whole week. And
Wow.
then management, we could probably go for 2 weeks. And that was when I was younger. I didn't like Hawaii that much, so I would just go the week.
Yeah.
And
I don't
he
remember.
only had one requirement. I actually got a great picture. It's not in this house right here though.
Yeah.
He only had one requirement, that when the Lakers were eating dinner, that we would go, the players that were there, which it wasn't the whole team, obviously, because people were overseas,
Mhm.
that we had to come eat. I
Mhm.
have the most incredible picture with me, Mitch, Derek, all of us when we were at Kobe's, where Kobe actually got his name out here
Yeah. The
from
Kobe
Joe
Steakhouse.
Jellybean. Yeah, where
Exactly.
Joe Jellybean Bryant told me, because he used to be a Sparks coach.
Yeah.
And that was his only thing. And we would get there. It was, the practice facility, we had all access, not like
Mm.
I hear now on some people facilities where the men's team had these incredible facilities but didn't want the women to play there or practice there.
Mhm.
His door was always wide open. Dr. Buss and Johnny Buss made sure that we felt like the queens that we were supposed to. And that's probably why we won.
That, yeah. That's
They
awesome.
treated us like royalty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great that's great, really great backstory, which I wasn't even aware of. I was at some of those trips. I don't remember seeing Sparks players there, but you probably were. So
Oh yeah, we were
yeah,
there. They can tell you. We had it.
amazing.
We took the moped rides,
Yeah.
and like I say, it's not in this house. It's
Mhm.
you know, I'm sure Mitch would love to see this picture, because Mitch was maybe about 25 years younger. Like we all would like to see each other. It was a great experience, and what a lot of people don't even know is, even after the Sparks was sold,
Mhm.
Mitch Kupchak was always a great Sparks fan. Every now and then when we would need a facility, because we were renting facilities for practice,
Mhm.
Mitch would open the doors and let us practice. The
Yeah.
Lakers would still open the door and let us practice there.
Yep, yep, yep. I used to love being around Mitch. Of course, Jerry, but Mitch was always so great to me, and I miss him. I had to catch up with him. So thank you for reminding
You
me about.
should,
Yeah,
because you know
absolutely.
what I tell
Yeah.
people, and now, like I told you, like,
Mhm.
just when I said doing this year, I said let me start on something I always wanted to start on, was my memoirs.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I said, why I can remember,
Uh-huh.
when I look back at those first 10 years that the Sparks are owned by the Lakers. When you're in the moment, you don't realize it. And then obviously when the team was sold, then you realize it. Mitch and I still stayed in touch, because I would call him for his advice.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was the one luxury I had. Those were the best 10 years of my career, because while other people had the Google information, I could literally walk across the parking lot with the best in the world who were doing it at
Yeah,
the time, and get
yeah,
the best advice ever.
yeah,
Get the best advice ever from, people that were legendary,
yeah.
creating championships and making memories. And
Mhm.
I look back now and I realize I've learned so much from those first 10 years,
Mhm.
and I was so lucky to have that valuable resource. Like I said, I could walk across the parking lot and everybody was legendary,
Yeah, right, right. Well, speaking of legendary, how did you feel when the Sparks retired your jersey and you were the first female player to have your jersey up on the wall at Staples Center? That must have been pretty incredible and humbling and,
It
gratifying.
was it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Johnny Buss was always a person, I'm sure, like his dad, of history.
Mhm.
Wanted to make sure history was preserved. And I remember he told me, Penny, we're gonna retire your jersey. Like I said, it's one of those things where you overwhelmed. I'm like, man, this is unbelievable. And now when you look back at it, and it's sort of something like I told Tisha Pinachero, a little joke we had, one of the best point guards ever. When she came to the Sparks, she broke my assist record that was
Mhm.
there for a while. She said, look, PD, they call it PT, your record is kaput, kaput. I said, yeah, but like at the time I told I had another first two, I was like, yeah, but you won't score the first basket in the history of the league. You
Yeah,
can't break that. It's
exactly.
sort of like the jersey. It's a trivia question, and
Yeah.
most people get it wrong because they think Lisa, but
No,
it's Penny.
I was there
So
when it went up on the wall. That was a wonderful night. It was beautiful and a great tribute to you. And like you say, the history, because Johnny was very much into the history of the
yeah,
franchise and preserving it and honoring it. And I want to talk about that, the first points in WNBA history, because I don't want to just gloss over it because it was like important.
Yeah.
The game was on June 21st, 1997. The first game, Val Ackerman threw up the ball, Liberty against the Sparks, right? It was
Yes.
historic moment in the history of
Huge.
sports, not just women's sports, but sports. And take us through the play. You remember the play that you scored on?
Now that I see it, I remember it was a jumper, cross the legs and jumper on the baseline. It was funny because after the game, the only thing, as a player, man, it was so much nerve. You have no idea. It was so much nerve because it took us a minute to score that first bucket.
Uh-huh.
And after the game, I remember being asked, how does it feel to score the first basket in the history of the league? And I'm like, what? We just got a butt kick. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just lost 67 to 57. Only reason I know the score because I was just looking at it on something else I was reading. And I didn't realize it. To be honest with you, I didn't appreciate it until years later when it's the first thing. Because when, like I say, one of those things where you're in the moment where, it's interesting. And this is true. I was watching Jeopardy one day.
Really?
And it came up on Jeopardy.
No kidding.
I've seen it in Jeopardy. And I've seen it in, Cash Cab, where that question comes up. And now I look back on it. It was I mean, like I said, there'll never be another first.
No.
So I'm honored that, I wasn't even trying. Deja Charles was trying, but I wasn't even trying.
I wonder how Lisa felt, if she felt maybe she's a little jealous, like I should have scored those first two.
I tell you what, Deja Charles, I used to tease her because now it made sense because the next day when I saw Deja at practice, and I said, Deja Charles, great player at Tennessee, great player for the Sparks. I think she only played 1 or 2 years with us. But I saw Deja and I go, Deja, were you trying to score the first basket yesterday? Because you know how you have a scheme and the play go, you pass here, you pass there. Yeah. But when the ball went to Deja, she shot it. And the rest of us were kind of stunned because, that wasn't the play. She said, of course I was. I thought about it the night before. That's why I shot it. Yeah, it was so funny because if you go back and look at it, she just catches it. Nobody's ready, and she shoots it.
That's hilarious.
It's the funniest thing. Yeah, so it's a funny story with that.
I would never have known that if I had talked to you.
I used to tease Deja about that all the time.
Yeah. All this research we did about you, and I guess I didn't really realize this, but when you became interim coach in 2014, right?
Yeah.
It made you're the only female in professional sports to have consecutively been a player, executive, and head coach for the same team you played for, right?
I know. Can you imagine?
And then I'm thinking on the men's side, like I'm trying to think of basketball, football, hockey, baseball. I mean, I can't think of anybody who accomplished that on the men's side either. Maybe there is, but that's amazing. What a great, incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, it's funny, Eli, who's the Sparks PR person now, actually pointed it out.
Eli Horowitz, yeah,
because like when you're going through, he said, Penny, guess what? Did you realize this? Because for the Sparks, the women's game is still pioneering, so you do what you have to do. And I turned around, I had did everything for that organization. When you look back on it, everything. So it's definitely a great honor. I didn't know until one of my lawyer friends that brought it to me. He gave me a tribute question. He said, Penny, who's the longest reigning GM ever of one team? Yeah. And, I didn't know the answer because I don't watch baseball that much, but I guess there's only one GM that's been a longer GM than I have with one team, and that's the New York Yankees GM.
Yeah, Cashman.
I still can. Right? Yeah, they say he was, I think, 2 years longer than me. Now will be 3. Yeah. Of the same team. And one of my agent friends told me that. He said, I had to look that up because I was like, man, you've been with the Sparks for so long that this is the only GM that's ever been longer tenured than him. So I must have been doing something right.
You did something. You did a lot of things right. One of the things you did right is something that needs to be continually talked about is that you helped craft the 2020 WNBA collective bargaining agreement, right? You were part of the labor relations committee that helped get that thing done. And there's a lot of grateful players out there who don't have to go to Europe anymore, making more money. I mean, talk about how that made you feel to be able to craft that, be part of that. Is a landmark decision because it permeates all of women's sports, right? And it's starting to
Oh
get
yes, it's
women's
setting the
sports
standard.
back. Yeah, back to hopefully close to the same level as men at some point, but at least getting the women the respect that they deserve and the pay that they deserve. Talk about that as a former player, GM, how you felt about that.
That was an amazing experience. Lisa Borders was in her seat when she appointed me to that commissioner. I believe I might have been the only person that wasn't the owner, or maybe Jim. I think at Phoenix wasn't the owner. It was with the owners, so it was a great opportunity to get their mindset, as well as obviously, even though I was removed 20 years, I still understood the importance of players having the money to be placed in the best position. In order for this league to succeed, we have to pay the players more money in hopes that they will stay home to continue to grow the league, because this league still needs growing. It was awesome. I mean, think about it, to be a part of it from the beginning, to go into management and now help creating the rules. That's why I always say to my friends, I love America. Only in America, what I'm saying, can you experience these things. And you're right, very few players will have the opportunity to say that they played and could be a part of that history to help create those rules. So it was amazing to even see that sitting there, and this is a huge step for women to make more money, because it is a lot of money. And it took the men years to get there, and I still think that's what a lot of people forget. But the bottom line is, I know this league is further along than where the men probably were at 25, even though a lot of people won't realize that, making the type of money that they're making. And people don't really realize that they get all this money in 6 months, and we pay for the houses. Well, I say we, when I was employed, the team paid for the housing, the team paid for the cars, and, having the child care. I think that was important, because people forget it's different for a woman. And not to bring up something bad, but I was on the team when the Sparks, when unfortunately Pam McGee's husband was going through that custody battle with her child. It's something that we never see in the NBA, so it was amazing to answer your question. Something I won't forget. And I was glad that it came out and it was received by the public so well.
Oh,
it was
absolutely.
huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was huge.
My wife has been a long time Title IX coordinator. She's a labor
wow.
employment lawyer. She deals with all of this, all the stuff that's near and dear to your heart. She worked at Cal State LA for a long time, and then
wow.
in USC. So, I have 3 daughters. So,
wow.
thank you for doing the work that you and everyone else did to craft that, because it sets the stage. It really does. And hopefully this next generation of players it'll be a distant memory, needing to go to Europe to play, to make more money, right? Didn't Diana Taurasi take a season off from the WNBA because she was making more money playing overseas? I mean, none of that made any sense, right?
And that's what people forget too. Players of my generation, or like I was talking about, Janice Lawrence, one of the incredible players that they'll never get to see, Lynette Woodard, LaTanya Pollard from Long Beach State, at the time, even laid that foundation, because think about it. I think Taurasi was paid more than $1 million. That's why she could take a year off. You have Lauren Jackson, a foreign player, another one make more than $1 million. You had Candace Parker, you have, so many. I mean, look at Sue Bird. I mean, you had, about time they were overseas, it's just like in this league. These players, they're great now, but they're going to be pioneering for the next generation. Related to men's basketball. I mean, look at what Irvin was paid, as in Magic Johnson and Jordan. But now look at what LeBron and Kobe got.
It's crazy. Crazy how they add on those zeros to the end of those contracts. It's craziness, right?
It's real crazy. And then about time Diana and them were over there, and it's just like I tell you now, I tease our players, it's tough, but for us, it would have been a cakewalk, because now you have the money, you have your home life, you're smart enough to put extra tickets in your contract. It's very Americanized now. The basketball over there is very Americanized, so you don't lose much, but it's incredible. But I mean, think about $1 million. That's why she could, I mean, that salary compared to here, in America. But at the same time, we're not foolish enough. When I say we, the WNBA, I still believe in the product. They're not foolish enough that, unfortunately, I was happy when there were two leagues. A lot of people say, "Oh, isn't it better one?" No, I always say it was nice to have two because it gave a lot of women opportunities. Because now, because you only have 12 teams, it's a lot of talented players that are, not making the W, so they have to still go overseas. But they weren't foolish enough. I won't, maybe foolish is a hard word, but they were smart enough to understand that in order for the league to survive, they had to make sure financially it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that was the problem why the ABL went under, because
Mm-hmm.
the players were dictating the salaries. Of course, I want 300,000,
Yeah.
but now the league is no more. So
Yeah.
the WNBA has been doing. I know it gets criticized a lot, but the WNBA has been doing a magnificent job with trying to manipulate the salaries and do what they can. And I
Mm-hmm.
think in this last collective bargaining agreement, they showed their commitment to women's basketball and to the players of the league, and trying to do as much as they can without destroying the model to make everyone happy. And when I say everyone, that's the players I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. Very well said. So Penny, let's talk about what you're doing now. Okay. So no, because you're writing your memoir, which is fantastic. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know where to go for pictures, by the way. That's a given.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I know I
But
got to get back to writing them because I get stuck. That's why I don't know how you did it. Did you when you did your book? You had help, didn't you? How
well,
did you do that?
I
Because
did
there's so
I did
much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Jackson and I did a book together in 2010, and that was basically about that season. I was embedded with the team that championship year, and then Kobe and
Okay.
I did our book together, which was very photo driven, but it was all him. I mean, it's all his word. Everything is in his words in the Mamba
Uh
mentality.
huh.
And that was his vision, quite frankly, and I just tagged along, you know.
Yeah,
But
but how long did it take you? Because looking now, it's how like when you lived as long as we have, I get sidetracked here, get
yeah,
sidetracked there,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously I pick it up, put it down, but how did you finish it? If you don't mind
Well,
me asking that real quick,
we
like,
had we had a very strict schedule that the publisher put us on. We had
oh, did you?
a
Okay.
designer that needed to meet certain benchmark dates, and Kobe was
Hmm.
incredibly disciplined. I mean, he knew he had to have this chapter done by this date. I had to have the photos to support what he wrote, and
Uh-huh.
that was a lot of work
Wow.
because if obviously you remember, but half of his career was pre-digital, was in film. So all that film is
Yes.
housed in New Jersey in Secaucus at MB Entertainment. So I had to have good editors go in there and look through mounds and mounds of film and try to find stuff that he was specifically talking about in the book. It was a challenge, but
Wow.
I just want to tell you, I had Jim Gray on, who's actually on the podcast this week as we're talking. Jim's a good friend, and he wrote basically his memoirs, his stories about all the athletes that he interviewed, the goats that he calls them. And
Uh-huh.
he said that he just started writing things down, but he actually got him very much involved with a writer who helped him craft it and helped ask
That's
the
what I was
questions.
thinking.
And I think you
Hmm.
probably need somebody who is familiar with your career, the history of the WNBA, is a good sports writer, knows how to do the flow of a book, and can put you on a
Right.
schedule too. Like you have a given schedule where you talk to this person and continually like just piece this thing together. Otherwise, it's going to be tough
It's
to
a
get it
mountain.
done. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
you're
it's
going
a
to forget
mountain.
about stuff, and then you're going to, I know how it is. Believe me.
Yeah,
So
that's some good advice. That's some good
yeah.
advice you gave me because I was like, yeah, I need some help here. And like
Mhm.
you said, and I didn't, yeah, probably somebody with a good sports background,
Yeah.
because it's the interesting thing about it is it's just like obviously every now and then I share a chapter or two that I do have,
Mhm.
with, because I just say, let me just start writing whatever comes to my mind. I'm write about it because you never know what you're going to use.
Mhm.
And I tell my friends, they were like, man, this is unbelievable. I'll be like, yeah, that's probably not the half of it, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the
Well,
whole book isn't even about sports,
yeah.
because you're not done so much in your life. Yeah.
Well, think about a writer that you liked being around who maybe wrote is retired or something or still looking for work.
Hmm.
Maybe a PR person, somebody in the business that you're comfortable with, and will help you craft this. And it'll Look, that's going to be a great book told from your perspective, right? But you need
I know
somebody to
it.
help kind of be the architect of it. I totally get it.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. So Penny, in the time we got left, I got two more things I want to talk about. I know you're doing a lot of public speaking and community outreach stuff, and I don't want to gloss over that, but I do want to talk very specifically about your bullying buddy app that you're developing. Veronica, my researcher, talked to me about it, and it's incredible idea. I mean, for somebody who's raised 4 kids and to have this, can you just tell us what it's all about?
I have a friend, her name is Tara Towns, and it started as her vision. She has a son who has dwarfism, and you know how kids could be brutal when you're different. And he was bullied and picked on, and she's an activist, of course, and, got heavily involved. And people don't understand that this bullying it's in schools and with kids, it's like the number one thing.
Yeah.
And you would think being quarantine that it would stop, but actually, obviously, working on the app, I've become educated. Still need to know a lot more. But cyberbullying is the number one bullying. Not back when we grew up, I had to be in front of you. Where now, they can do it and not even be in front of you.
Right.
So Tara, who is the vision behind it, she's like, Penny, I know you're not working now. Can you help me? I said, I'll be happy to. So we the app started out and we started going, and it went from one vision to this incredible piece. And we have it in beta testing right now. It's probably going to drop in January. We just put the website up. So anybody out there that wants to get more information, just go to bullyingbuddy.com. This information is going to support the parents, the school, the teacher, the watcher, and the bullying, because it's an app that we created for schools that everybody can use it now. Is say like if your child was being bullied, is an EBB button called the emergency bullying button. You can hit this button and it can record video. It records sound, of course, it's voice activated, and they can record the bullying. And then I'm sure the next question people would ask, okay, but if he's in the process of getting beat up, how is he going to record it? Now, once he turns it on, you still have the audio.
Yeah.
But let's say most of the time when people are getting bullied, there are people watching, right? This is what is known in the app as a watcher. A watcher could literally, this is a cut, but let's say take my phone and he can literally record this, the watcher.
And that's activated by hitting that EBB button?
He can well, the one is the victim probably hit the EBB, emergency bullying, I'm being bullied right now. And to go back to that, if they're being bullied at that moment, which, it can occur in the bathroom, on a field trip, on the bus, right? It also has, the app also handles the bus driver.
Oh, wow.
If there's an incident, a bus driver can record the incident. Now, here's the beauty of it. Once it's recorded, it can't be taken back. So like if you break my phone or destroy it, it doesn't matter. Soon as the video or the audio is recorded, or if the watcher is recording it, I'll get to the watch in a minute. Once it's recorded, it immediately goes to the admin, which is the school. And at the same time that the admin is receiving it, so does your parents. Your parents is also an app. Now, let's just say, God forbid, if you're ever being beat up, you somewhere, or God forbid, you're being kidnapped, you can hit this app and the app will locate your child in real time.
Wow.
And if they are recording, they can see what's happening in real time.
Wow.
And if a watcher is recording, and we call them the watcher because unfortunately, sometimes the bully doesn't get any help because the person that's watching don't want to be known as a snitch, where now they really should see themselves as a hero.
Yeah.
Well, the watcher can record the bullying and report it anonymously.
Amazing. Wow, what an incredible idea.
Yeah, it's gonna, and it also houses cyberbullying, where you can record the incident, because a lot of people don't know what to do with cyberbullying. It's an incredible app.
Incredible.
And just like one other thing I want to point on it, because obviously I'm so happy with the final product, that a lot of people, they're not going to go to the principal's office. They may not want to talk to the teacher. It's a teacher in the app. The admin is the principal in the app. That if I was being bullied and I just felt intimidated that I don't want nobody to see me going to the principal office, I can communicate with the principal from the app.
Wow.
Parents, you don't have to leave home anymore. Obviously, if something happened with your child, you're still going to want to go see. But if it has to happen right then and there, the parents can have a conference with the teacher and the child.
Wow.
In the app. It's incredible.
That is
And
incredible.
so,
Wow.
and we're
Wow.
looking forward to do big things. We have a lot of schools is waiting on, us to finish the beta testing. Obviously, we want to make sure it works. And I can honestly tell you, it is, and then you would think it's hard to navigate. It isn't. It's
Mm-mm.
really, it's quite simple to navigate. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be a game changer.
Wow. Well,
CDC is interested in it. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, congratulations to you and to everyone who's developing that. And please, please, please keep me posted. We at Legends of
I
Sport will do
will.
everything we can to get the word out on our social media. You want to
I'm gonna
contact
hold you to that, Andy. I'm gonna hold you
Penny?
to
Come
that.
on, you know me.
I'm
If
gonna
I
hold you
say I'm
to
doing it,
that.
I'll do it. Right? How
Okay,
many times did you
okay.
ask me for pictures and I actually came through and gave them to you? So,
And you always do, and that's why I want to tell everybody out there. And I know you love, but you are loved. You
thank
are
you.
people. I think fans, I would say, or people in the business, they only see the players, but it's a lot more people that bring the players to life. And you were one of those people. And Andy, you were always so amazing. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I know I'm gonna remember you. Brandy Bratch is gonna remember you. That's Johnny's assistant. But if Johnny remembers anybody, that's a miracle. And your name, as soon as we start reminiscing, he was like, "Man, wasn't Andy a great?" I go, "Yes, he was."
Yeah.
That was our conversation, and I'm sure a lot of other people say the same thing.
Well, I appreciate that. It's so sweet of you. Thank you. I appreciate it, Penny. Thank
Nah, you're the man, Andy. You know
you.
you're the man. That's why
Oh,
you don't
thank
have
you.
anybody. You don't have any trouble. I'm sure getting any guests on your podcast. I'm sure
Well,
you don't.
I'm happy that you made the time today, and I'm gonna stay on you about the Bullying Buddy app because this is
No, I
really
want you to.
important.
It's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. It's going to be
Okay. Good.
awesome. And I look forward to the day that, we can demonstrate it on your show, because when you
Good.
see, like I told you, it's an incredible app.
Yeah. Great.
And like I told you, we have a lot of people right now. They're just, it's like we have a lot of people signed up to buy it. We just
Yeah.
have to just make sure it works and before we give it to them.
All right. Well, keep us posted. Absolutely.
Okay, I will.
Penny, the last thing I need to ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot. We probably should have prepared you ahead of time, but do you have a memory or something about Kobe you can share with us? Obviously so beloved, not only in Los Angeles, but all over the world, all our listeners and followers, huge Kobe fans. Um, I like to ask everybody who comes on the podcast if they have a special memory or just anything you want to share about him.
And I'm sure a lot of people talk about the basketball aspect of Kobe, but I think what I remember the most, obviously he was a great player. He worked hard. We used to go to the weight room when I was a player at Goes Down. But here's my memory of Kobe, and it's going to be quite different. When we had Joe Bryant, who was the coach of the Sparks, Joe Jellybean Bryant, and it was interesting because you know how Kobe gets to the gym early and we were downstairs.
Yeah.
It was interesting. He would come in and him and Joe Bryant would kiss each other in the mouth.
Oh.
And a lot of people, and I just went, man, look at the love between those two, and just seeing that type of love. And, when you talk about his history being in Italy with his dad, and Kobe's a grown man now, but yet he still kisses his dad on the mouth. So for me, that will be my memory of Kobe that I love. Obviously sports, there are tons of them, but to see that interaction, I mean, between a father and a son, I saw Kobe the man in that moment, not Kobe the player.
Yeah.
So that would be like one of my greatest moments, because you don't expect a grown man to come in and kiss his dad on the lips.
That's
don't expect that.
That's a very Italian thing to do. They must have come up with that in Italy, But that's a beautiful memory. Thanks, Penny. Thanks for sharing that. And you guys shared the gym for a long time together.
Long time.
One night it'd be a Laker court, the next night it would at the Forum, and then at Staples Center it'd be Sparks Court, and he was obviously a big proponent of the women's game. That was his mission.
What I was about to say. And people think, and some people are surprised by that, but he isn't, because he always cheered the Sparks on. He always supported the girls behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Always, unfortunately, right before he died, unfortunately, he had I was talking to Chelsea Gray. The next week, she was going to have a filming session with him. People don't understand that Kobe actually gave a lot behind the scenes. He never wanted any awards for it, and the sad thing about this whole thing is, and about life in general, why do you wait till people are gone to celebrate them?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, celebrate them while they're alive.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look at the outpour. I can't go. There's rarely a street, and I don't care what side of town you're on, that you won't see a Kobe Bryant picture
Oh,
on a
absolutely.
wall.
Murals all over the place. Yeah, I'm working real closely with the guy who started the mural project and tracking murals. There's probably 600 murals that he's found all over the
Yes.
world. It's amazing. And
Mm,
well, it'll always be a void and a hole in
saddest
all of our
thing.
hearts. But the fact that we were able to interact with him and be part of his world for a
Hmm.
while, I'll always be grateful for that. So,
And
and
that's why you cherish every day. I always say to cherish every day and every moment, and that's a perfect example of you. You know, it's just. I mean, I mean, you know, it was shocking,
yeah,
stunning.
absolutely. Well, listen, Penny, you are amazing, and I really
Thank
can't
you,
thank you enough
Andy.
for taking the time and catching up. And over the years, we always had some really fun, just a little snippet conversations. But
Yeah.
you and I, honestly, were kind of the thread from the beginning. I mean, we
To
were
the
there
whole for the
together at the
Sparks.
beginning, and I'll always remember you and that number 11 and how hard you played. and,
Well,
and then
thank you.
when you took off the uniform and put on the business suit, and even that time where you were coaching, right? I have a lot
Yeah,
of
that was.
admiration for you, and I wish you well. And
Thank
if I can
you,
help in any way with the app or with the book or whatever, you know where to go, right?
Andy. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And this has been awesome reconnecting with you. Thank you so much. Thank
PT,
you.
you're the best. Happy holidays to you and yours. And let's all stay
And same to
safe,
you.
get that vaccine, and put this thing behind us, right?
Yeah, let's get outdoors and lead a normal life again, whatever that is.
Exactly. Great to see you, PT. Thanks, Penny.
Thanks so much,
Okay.
Andy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, it was so much fun chatting and catching up with my good friend Penny Toler. I always remember a great smile, a great greeting every time I saw her, going back to her rookie year in the WNBA in 1997 at the Forum, then, of course, at Staples Center. I've been the team photographer for the Sparks ever since that very first game. And so good to catch up with Penny. Penny has contributed so much to women's basketball. And now I'm looking forward to the Bullying Buddy app she is about to launch. Stay tuned to our social media for an update on that. Thanks also, as always, to my producer and researcher, Veronica Ahn. Thanks, everyone, for continuing to download and subscribe to our podcast. A reminder that you can find us on the LA Times app and online, as well as your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Please keep following us on Instagram at Legends of Sport, Twitter at Legends_of Sport. Our blog is legendsofsport.blog, and our TikTok and YouTube channels, Legends of Sport. You can find my photography on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another great guest and episode. Please check our social media for the announcement. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and don't forget, wear your mask. See ya.